Welcome back, ballers, to another episode of the BalllDontLie channel. I want to dedicate this presentation to follower Kimberly, who brought up the Smiley moon to me in last night's live stream with the one and only Sean DeSad, widow's son, dear friend of mine. We had a great live last night talking about a lot of things. But Kimberly was kind enough to bring me up to speed to this smiley face moon, which is going to show its face in the early morning sunrise of Friday, April 25th, 2025. So this is a pre-recorded video. I wanted to time it to get it out at a time in which, there might be more people that are awake and maybe did see the smiley face moon. I'm going to do my best to try to get up and see it myself. I just don't know where I would need to stand to see it, right? Because I'm sure that would be really cool to see. I was blessed enough to be in, in totality in last year's eclipse, and oh my God, I will never forget that. It was crazy. But that's besides the point. This presentation is dedicated to Kimberly. Thank you so much for having me lean into something I didn't know about. People like Sean, Cody, Decoding with Cody. I'm assuming most people watching this video know very much about both of them, but they've been ahead of this, so I'm definitely behind the curve. But what I do want to do is add, once again, my own spin on the smiley face moon that just so happens to take place today by the time this video releases, to a number of different connections that I've been noticing very quickly, right? Because I only knew about this essentially yesterday. So we're going to dive right into it, you guys. Here we go. So I'm sure most, if not all of you, are familiar with McDonald's. They've had the running slogan of "I'm loving it" for a very long time now. I want to say since like 2003. But me growing up in the 90s, and McDonald's has been around way before I have. I always remember "We love to see you smile" as the slogan. And I've touched on a number of ways in which Donald Trump is so simply connected to McDonald's, right? Donald Trump, McDonald's, here he is serving burgers out of a drive-through, and a lot more when it comes to Donald Trump. But anyways, besides the point, focusing on "we love to see you smile." Once again, we're right back to the love theme that I can't get away from. But this is really going to focus on the smile theme, right? Because we have the happy-faced moon that's going to show its face the morning of April 25th, 2025. So I haven't seen this movie, but I've seen trailers, I've seen billboards, and they creep me out. And obviously it is a scary movie of some kind. But you'll notice that the majority of these slides are really going to tie into this movie. And I think there's a reason why this movie, this is the first movie that was released back in 2022. You guys will see how, through the lens of gematria and date durations, etc., once you understand this knowledge, it's very easy to find this information, and how every single day you just apply it and you will see how it connects. But it also implies that you need to incorporate the symbolism and what's happening in not only the news, but entertainment, sports, music, etc. So we're going to start with the movie Smile. I know nothing about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't dove into it. All I did was look up the release date of this movie. So September 30th, 2022. If you measure from the anniversary of that particular release date this year back to today, April 25th, the date of the smiley face moon, we have McDonald's. Okay, that's in the reverse cipher. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, but you flip it. So A is actually 26, B is 25, C is 24, etc. I just want to touch on the upside down theme that I can't escape either. Think about a smiley face. Think about the phrase, turn that frown upside down, right? I'm pretty confident the vast majority of you folks have heard that phrase before in your life. So I just had to touch on that again. Some certain themes I can't escape, you guys. Upside down themes, the love themes, etc. But here we go again. When you think about the smile, turn that frown upside down. My life got turned upside down, right? Don't forget about the Hanged Man themes. This is another shout out to Rambo. He's really pointed out about the tarot card, the Hangman, and how you have David Blaine on the right doing some sort of magic trick where he held himself upside down for 60 days. Okay. Don't forget that Donald Trump actually just won the 60th presidential election. And I get out of presentation mode here. I just saw this, you guys, going back to my video yesterday. Look at this. Look at the tattoo on his wrist. It's a spade, right? Wow. Wow. And Sean and I talked about in our stream last night about David Spade, and now we have David Blaine with a spade tattoo. Interesting. Interesting. But anyways, back to it. So just so you guys know, David Blaine's Upside Down Man Endurance Challenge. This was just another one of his magic tricks. Like I said, where he hung upside down for 60 hours, and he was announced in a press conference at Trump Tower back on September 18th, 2008. But he began the actual stunt a few days later, just to clarify that. But what are the odds that upside down man equals 158 as well? Just like McDonald's. Donald Trump, smile. Turn that frown upside down, right? When you do that, you smile. Okay? For those that are not familiar with what we've been talking about, at least on my channel, don't forget about the upside down plane crash that happened on Michael Jordan's birthday this year. And that matters because Trump has, in years past and just this year alone, has spoke about Jordan in different ways. First, you have Trump essentially calling out LeBron several years ago. I want to say this was back when he was in office, even though this clip says 2 years ago, which wouldn't be the case. But besides the point, Trump said, I don't like LeBron James. I like Michael Jordan better. LeBron, any desire to be a woman, and then he turns it into that whole thing. But he also delivered a message to the people of Jordan this year. And he says to the people of Jordan, you are very, very fantastic people with tremendous brilliance and energy. And essentially, he just worships the king of Jordan. And I'm not going to get into the political side of things when it comes to that, but I just want to point out that he essentially aligns himself with Michael Jordan And he recently addressed the people of Jordan. Now we have the smiley face moon, which, by the way, one thing I didn't reference is that essentially the moon is going to be in the shape of a smiley face. And there will be two stars in the zodiac in the sky, Venus and Saturn, from my understanding. So I apologize if I stand corrected, but I'm pretty sure Venus is one of them, and I'm pretty sure it's Saturn, but I could be mistaken. So if you add the end date, you guys, look at this. From the smiley-faced moon that's happening today or happened this morning by the time this video releases, and you add the end date to September 30th, the anniversary of the release date of this movie, you have 159. And in the simple gematria ciphers, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, smiley face moon equals 159. If you run it in reverse, it's Donald Trump. What are the odds that if you actually, and this goes back to my live with Sean, Widow's son, last night. We were talking about the 134, but we couldn't connect it just real time. But I looked a little bit deeper, and sure enough, as Sean pointed out, September 30th, 2022 to today's date, April 25th, 2025, is exactly 134 weeks. Not a day to spare. Once again, airtight. Kind of like saying that with the air themes that have been going on for quite some time now. But look at that. Make America Great Again in the reverse reduction cipher. Must be yet another quinky dink, right? But think about that. Smile. Like I mentioned, the moon will essentially show its face like this. The moon is going to be cupped, if you will, in the sky during sunrise. There's a lot to be said about the Golden Arches, and I've talked about the Big Mac Bridge and all that kind of stuff, but that's not where we're going. But think about the smile and think about Happy Meal. Believe it or not, on my 2-year wedding anniversary, March 4th, 2025, now we have Donald Trump addressing U.S. Congress, where he says you can't say anything to make Democrats happy. So it makes you think about Happy Meals, right? Happy Gilmore, which I've touched on in a whole other book, and we'll kind of revisit that in a minute. But right after he says that, look at this. Down here, highlighted below. He says you can't make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. So in the same sentence, he mentions happy and smile. I don't think that's a coincidence. So to segue a little bit deeper, notice that he has the flag behind him, right? That's a very common theme. Because for those of you guys that may not know, Donald Trump was born on Flag Day. And that's a big deal because for many reasons, this next slide is going to be a little messy, but I'll walk you through it. In the opening of my presentation, I talked about the slogan, "We love to see you smile," which I believe, let's see. McDonald's moved away from this slogan in 2003. I don't know the date, but look at the date that this slogan began. June 30th, 2000. And if you measure from that date to the release date of the first movie, Smile, right? That creepy movie that we were looking at, it's exactly 267 months. Once again, not one day to spare, airtight. That matters for a number of reasons. I mentioned on one of my last videos as well, that 267 is the Philadelphia area code. And we are now, as I speak, living in the time of perhaps the upcoming 267th Pope. Don't forget that Kobe Bryant was born in Philadelphia, reportedly. He died in a helicopter crash, etc. But Philadelphia matters even more because Philadelphia is known as the birthplace of the American flag. So think about Cooper flag, think about Cooper DeJean scoring that pick six for Philadelphia against the Chiefs, the commander-in-chiefs, in front of Donald Trump, and he was the first president to ever actually show face at a Super Bowl when it comes to US presidents. So keeping it moving here, I don't know much about this author, Jane Smiley, but apparently she is very popular. And I just thought it was very interesting that one of her top books is Golden Age. Jane Smiley, Golden Age. One of the big bold headlines once Trump was reelected to come back to serve a split term, he said the golden age of America begins now. Well, to me, that's interesting because when you just take a look at Jane Smiley's birthday and you measure it from her birthday to Trump's, right? Jane Smiley was born on the 105th day of Donald Trump's age. And sure enough, in the reverse cipher, golden equals 105. If we go even deeper and we measure from their actual birthdays, Donald Trump born in 46, June 14th, Flag Day, to Jane Smiley's birthday, September 26th, 1949. We get 1,201 days apart. And this matters because 1201 is the 197th prime, which is the 45th prime. 197 is the 45th prime. Why does that matter? Well, Trump in his split term, when he first became president, he was number 40. So I would just love for somebody to show me that that's a coincidence when you tie it in with Jane Smiley and everything else we've been talking about. But we're going to keep going. Once again, talking about this "We love to see you smile" slogan. If you measure that date, June 30th, 2000, back to Jane Smiley's actual birthday, same date, same year, you get 18,541 days, which is the 2,124th prime. Now, I know that that's a mouthful, and that is a lot of numbers on the screen. But I really want to shout out Sean Desad, Widow's son. Please make sure to go like his videos and subscribe to his content because I'm learning so much from him. And this is a perfect example of how I'm applying what he's teaching me to this presentation. So I'll be the first to say, if you guys go and Google search Carl Weathers' death date, it's going to tell you it's February 2nd, 2024. And I have receipts for days to prove that that is not the information that was first given to us. And that's also not the first time that we've seen that, right? We've seen birthdays get moved around, years, dates, etc. So it's neither here nor there. But my point is that the very first time that they released any news about the passing of Carl Weathers, they said that he died in his sleep on Thursday, February 1st, 2024. So that matters because in the lens of Widow's son, I looked at this number, I said 2124. the 2124th prime. If I looked at it like a date, what could that look like? Well, 2/1/24. That is the date of Carl Weathers' death date. And I have a whole book on it about the hand. This is kind of where that whole thread started. But holy smokes, I mean, just think about Carl Weathers, Carl's Jr., right? Going right back to the fast food burgers Happy Meal theme that continues to come up every single time I essentially put a presentation together. For me, I think it always does go back to they're telling us all to be as a child. Humble yourself as a child. That way, that's how you enter the kingdom of heaven. But keeping it going, next we're just going to read through the lyrics of this song, Smiling Faces Sometimes by The Undisputed Truth. This came out in 1971, you guys. So the band Undisputed Truth writes a song called Smiling Faces Sometimes. If that's not like screaming right in your face, I don't know what else will. But I read through the lyrics, I listened to it. It is a good song, but it's eerie. It's kind of catchy, but it just, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me, and I think a lot of it is just because of the lyrics that I'll read through now. Smiling faces sometimes pretend to be your friend. Smiling faces show no traces of the evil that lurks within. Can you dig it? Smiling faces sometimes don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof. Let me tell you, the truth is in the eyes, because the eyes don't lie. Amen. Remember, a smile is just a frown turned upside down, my friend. So hear me when I'm saying, smiling faces sometimes don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof. Beware of the handshake that hides the snake. Can you dig it? Going back to, once again, last night's live with Sean DeSad, Widow's Son. We were talking about how the snake eyes was referenced in Motorhead's Ace of Spades. And once again, we're in the year of the snake. In closing on this part with the lyrics, just check this out. I'm telling you, beware of the pat on the back. It might just hold you back. Jealousy, misery, envy. I tell you, you can't see behind. Smiling faces sometimes. Hey, they don't tell the truth. Smiling faces tell lies, and I got proof. Your enemy won't do you no harm, because you'll know where he's coming from. I think that's a very impactful line. I'm just going to say that one. Your enemy won't do you no harm because you know where he's coming from. That's a big reason why I lean into this research, is because I've always been raised to be told that to defeat your enemy is to know your enemy. And that doesn't make it easy, right? You start to realize how many more people are not in your corner than you thought were. But besides the point, your enemy won't do you no harm because you know where he's coming from. So I just want to applaud everybody that takes the time to do their own research, take the time to watch a video like mine. I always appreciate it because we're all in the same corner and we're trying to keep ourselves away and understanding where the evil is taking place. Don't let the handshake and the smile fool you. There you go. Once again, with the fool terminology that keeps popping up. Take my advice. I'm only trying to school you. Smiling faces sometimes, they don't tell the truth. So that whole song, they're just screaming it at you. Just think about all the politicians, entertainers, wrestlers, basketball players, rappers, actors, actresses, whatever, just giving you that pretty or handsome smile. So in closing here, we're coming towards the end. This song was released on May 13th, 1971. And if you measure from that actual date and year to the release date of the first movie, Smiley, September 30th, 2022, it's a span of exactly 616 months and 18 days. That is wild. That is wild. Why? Because from a biblical interpretation, 616 is considered the alternate number of the beast. And most people understand the number of the beast to be 666, right? But 616 is essentially the younger brother, if you will, of the number of the beast. And then 18 days. 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. So a double 666 reference just with this song and the release date of the movie Smile, and now Smiling Faces Sometimes, this song back from the 70s. And in closing, I'm going to leave you guys with this. This is a screenshot of what I shared in my book, The Hand, talking about Happy Gilmore, right? We touched on that briefly, Happy Meals. We love to see you smile, right? But Happy Gilmore was released on February 16th, 216. Those in the community know all about 216 and its relationship with 666, because you multiply 6 times 6 times 6 equals 216, etc. But cheeseburgers in reverse. 216, once again, don't forget that we're in the year of Happy Gilmore 2, which was announced right after my book, The Hand, talking about all the deaths of the actors that were originally in that movie, Bob Barker, Joe Lafferty, and Carl Weathers. But don't forget about Adam Sandler being in the movie Big Daddy, where he takes his son Julian to, of course, McDonald's, and he says, "Will somebody get the kid a Happy Meal?" So, anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. That's all I have today to share. I hope you guys enjoyed it. On the way out, please make sure to hit the like and the subscribe and the share where you see fit. It really means a lot, you guys. Anytime I can see some numbers growing, it means that the word is getting out. So thank you again, and we'll see you again soon. Take care of yourselves.